Welcome back to our channel. In this video, we have specially made it for automatic car owners, car enthusiasts, and even those of you who are planning to buy an automatic car soon. So, if you want to make sure your car stays in its best condition, then this is definitely for you. We put together this list to help you avoid the common mistakes people make with automatic cars that can damage or shorten their lifespan. So, ready for the list? Because we're just as excited to share it with you. Let's get started. Don't shift to reverse or park while moving. Owning an automatic car means you have to be mindful of how you treat your transmission. One of the worst things you can do is shift into reverse or park while the car is still moving. When you do this, all the force from the moving wheels transfers directly into your transmission, which puts extreme stress on the gears and the parking pawl. These parts are not designed to handle that kind of sudden impact, and it can easily lead to broken components or complete transmission failure. Now, even if it doesn't break right away, forcing the gear shift while in motion causes small but repeated damage inside, which adds up over time. That means you could be looking at thousands of dollars in repair costs much sooner than expected. So, to avoid this, always make sure the vehicle comes to a full stop before shifting into reverse or park. It only takes a couple of seconds of patience, but it saves you from very expensive headaches later on. Don't launch aggressively from neutral to drive. The second thing you should never do with an automatic car is launch it aggressively from neutral to drive. Some drivers rev the engine while the gear is in neutral and then slam it into drive, hoping the car will shoot forward faster. At first, it might feel like it gives the car a stronger push, but the truth is, this habit is very harmful and unnecessary. Actually, when you rev the engine in neutral, it creates a lot of sudden power. Then, the moment you shift into drive, all that power is forced straight into the transmission. This causes a big jolt inside the system. Automatic transmissions are made to shift gears smoothly, not to handle that kind of shock. Over time, this stress can cause parts inside the transmission to wear out faster, loosen, or even crack. Once that damage happens, your car won't drive the same anymore, and it can lead to very expensive repairs. To give you an idea, fixing or replacing a damaged transmission can cost thousands, which is one of the most costly repairs a car owner can face. That's why avoiding this is very important if you want your car to last longer. So, instead of revving in neutral, just keep your gear in drive and press the accelerator normally when you want to move. It might not feel as fast, but it keeps everything working smoothly. In the long run, this will save you money, reduce stress on your car, and keep your driving experience safe and reliable. Don't coast downhill in neutral. A lot of drivers think that putting their car in neutral while going downhill saves fuel, but with modern automatic cars, this habit does more harm than good. Because when you shift into neutral, you disconnect the engine from the wheels. That means you lose the natural resistance the engine provides, also called engine braking. Instead of the engine helping slow the car down, all the pressure gets transferred to your brakes. The problem with relying only on brakes during a long downhill drive is that they can overheat quickly, and when brakes get too hot, they lose their stopping power, a condition known as brake fade. This not only shortens the lifespan of your brake pads and rotors, but also puts you at serious risk of not being able to stop in time, especially if you're carrying passengers or towing a load. What looks like a simple way to save gas could easily turn into a dangerous situation. So, the smarter and safer option is to always keep your car in drive or a lower gear when going downhill. Modern engines automatically cut back fuel use when you lift your foot off the gas, so you're not really saving fuel by coasting in neutral anyway. Also, by letting the engine stay engaged, you get better control of your car, protect your brakes from overheating, and stay much safer on the road. Don't rest your hand on the gear lever. Another habit many drivers don't think twice about is resting their hand on the gear lever while driving. It may feel natural or comfortable, especially on long trips, but in reality, it's putting stress on a part of your car that isn't designed to handle it. Why? Actually, the gear lever in an automatic car is connected to the transmission's selector mechanism. This system is built to shift gears when you move it, not to hold extra weight or constant pressure from your hand. So when you keep your hand resting there, even lightly, it adds unnecessary force to the selector components inside. Over time, this can cause premature wear, making the gear shifts less smooth or even damaging the linkage. And while it may not fail overnight, this kind of wear can lead to expensive repairs down the line. Most mechanics will tell you that transmission work is one of the costliest services, sometimes running into thousands of dollars depending on the car. Remember to always keep both hands on the steering wheel unless you're actively shifting. Not only does this keep the transmission mechanism safe, but it also gives you better control of the car, which improves safety overall. It's a simple change in driving behavior that protects both your vehicle and yourself. So, as tempting as it might be to rest your hand on the gear lever, it's much smarter to break the habit early. Don't rest your foot on the brake pedal. Another common habit drivers often don't realize is harmful is keeping their foot lightly on the brake pedal while driving. Even the slightest pressure is enough to make the brakes engage just a little, which creates constant friction between the brake pads and rotors. Over time, this slowly grinds them down, making them wear out much faster than they should. It's almost like driving with the brakes on all the time, and eventually, you'll end up replacing parts much sooner than necessary. The danger here is about your safety. Worn brake pads lose their stopping power, which can make it harder for your car to stop in sudden or emergency situations. That extra friction also builds up heat, which can warp the rotors and lead to vibrations or noisy braking. And what starts as a small bad habit can easily lead to repairs worth hundreds of dollars, and in the worst case, leave you with brakes that don't respond the way they should when you need them most. Just make sure to always place your foot fully on the floor or use the dead pedal, the flat rest area beside the brake, when you're not braking. This prevents unnecessary wear, helps your brakes last longer, and even saves you a little fuel since the car doesn't have to fight against the drag of partially engaged brakes. This makes a big difference in keeping your car safe and in good condition. Don't shift into park before a full stop. Some drivers do this out of habit when they're in a hurry, but it's one of the quickest ways to damage your transmission. So, when you put the car in park, a small metal part, called the parking pawl, locks the transmission in place to keep the car from rolling. If the wheels are still turning when you shift, all that moving force slams against the pawl, which it was never designed to handle. What usually happens next is the pawl or the gears around it get bent, cracked, or even snapped completely. Once that part breaks, the transmission won't be able to hold the car steady in park, and repairing it is no small job. Depending on the extent of the damage, you could be looking at repairs that cost thousands of dollars. On top of that, a damaged transmission often creates more problems over time, meaning one bad habit could cut your car's lifespan short. The safer habit you can practice instead is always bring your car to a complete stop before shifting into park. Even waiting those extra 2 or 3 seconds for the car to fully settle saves you from putting unnecessary strain on the transmission. Also, if you're on a slope, it's smart to engage the handbrake first, then shift into park to take some pressure off the pawl. Don't ignore regular transmission fluid changes. One of the most important habits for keeping your automatic car in good shape is not ignoring transmission fluid changes. Transmission fluid works like the lifeblood of the system since it lubricates the moving parts, keeps everything cool, and makes sure of smooth shifting between gears. Over time, though, the fluid breaks down, gets dirty, and loses its ability to do its job. Now, if you keep driving with old or contaminated fluid, your transmission will run hotter and experience more friction, which leads to faster wear. Also, when the fluid is no longer effective, the transmission starts to suffer. You might notice rough or delayed shifting, slipping gears, or strange noises when the car is changing speeds. These are early warning signs that the system is struggling. If left unchecked, the transmission can overheat or fail completely, and fixing or replacing it can be one of the most expensive repairs a car owner will ever face. The good news is that transmission fluid maintenance is straightforward. Check your owner's manual for the recommended service interval, which is usually between 30,000 to 60,000 miles, depending on your car and driving habits. Having the fluid changed regularly helps extend the life of your entire vehicle and at the same time protects yourself from breakdowns and possible repairs. Don't use the wrong gear for the situation. If you own or wanting to own an automatic vehicle, you should avoid using the wrong gear for the situation. Even though automatics handle most of the shifting on their own, you still need to pay attention when driving under special conditions, like towing, climbing steep hills, or driving downhill. Choosing the proper gear helps the car manage power and speed safely without putting extra stress on the transmission. For example, if you tow heavy loads while staying in higher gears, the transmission has to work harder than it was designed to. This causes it to generate extra heat, and heat is one of the main reasons transmissions wear out early. Without enough cooling or proper gear use, the transmission fluid can also break down faster, losing its ability to protect the system. Over time, this can lead to slipping gears, poor performance, or even complete transmission failure. On the other hand, shifting into lower gears when needed can protect your car. When towing, climbing, or going downhill, using the right gear keeps the engine and transmission balanced, reduces strain, and provides more control. It may feel like a small detail, but matching the gear to the driving condition is one of the easiest ways to extend the life of your transmission and avoid costly repairs. Don't rev the engine while stopped in drive. Additionally, another thing you really don't want to do with an automatic car is revving its engine while you're stopped in drive. A lot of drivers think it's harmless to give the gas pedal a quick push when waiting at a stoplight, but in reality, it's putting another unnecessary stress on the transmission. The reason is, when your car is in drive, the transmission is already engaged, meaning it's holding the engine's power even though the wheels aren't turning. So when you rev, all that power is being forced against the transmission with nowhere to go. Doing this once or twice probably won't break anything right away, but if it becomes a habit, it adds up over time. The extra strain makes the transmission work harder, which heats up the transmission fluid faster and causes it to lose its protective qualities sooner. Once the fluid breaks down, the internal gears and clutches don't get the lubrication and cooling they need. That's when you might start noticing rough or delayed shifts, or in worse cases, complete transmission failure. And as most car owners know, transmission repairs aren't cheap, and again, they often run into the thousands of dollars. What you can do is just keep your car calm while you're stopped. If you're sitting at a light or stuck in traffic, just keep your foot lightly on the brake and let the car idle. And if you know you'll be waiting longer, like in a parking lot or while waiting for someone, it's even better to shift into neutral or park to take the pressure off the transmission. These small habits might not seem like a big deal, but they make a huge difference in keeping your transmission healthy and letting your car run strong for the long haul. Don't skip warming up in cold weather. And finally, especially for those living in colder areas, do not skip warm-up when it's very cold outside. The reason is, when the temperature drops, the transmission fluid thickens and doesn't flow as easily through the system. That means for the first few minutes after starting, your transmission parts aren't getting the smooth lubrication and cooling they need. If you put the car straight into hard driving, the gears and clutches are under strain, while the fluid is still too thick to properly protect them. Now, this doesn't mean you have to sit and idle for 15 minutes like people used to do decades ago. Modern engines and transmissions are built to handle cold starts much better. What you should do is give your car at least 30 seconds to a minute to settle after starting, then drive gently for the first few miles. Avoid sudden acceleration or heavy loads until the car feels smoother and the temperature gauge begins to move up. This way, the transmission fluid has time to circulate and thin out, giving all the moving parts proper protection. Skipping this during freezing weather can shorten the life of your transmission and even lead to early failure. Transmission repairs often cost anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000, while warming up properly costs you nothing but a little patience. It's a small habit, but it has a big payoff. So, especially during those cold winter mornings, give your car that extra bit of care. Looking back at all the points on our list, there's one clear common denominator. They all focus on protecting your transmission. Why? Because in an automatic car, the transmission does most of the heavy work, constantly shifting gears and managing power for you. It's also one of the most expensive parts to repair or replace, which is why even small mistakes can lead to big costs later. Whether it's shifting incorrectly, skipping fluid changes, or driving with bad habits, each of these mistakes adds extra strain that shortens the life of your car. And when you avoid them and take good care of your transmission, you're making sure your automatic runs smoother, lasts longer, and saves you from costly repairs down the road. We hope you find this video helpful, and if you're dealing with other issues with your car, let us know by leaving a comment below. We'll gladly cover that next here on Fix It. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming tips.